Back at her house, Liz was getting ready. Adorning a long red party dress that hugged her sides a little too tightly, she had let her hair down and decorated it with a black flowered barrette. Applying some eyeshadow and ruby lipstick, she looked stunning and a good deal older as she went downstairs to wait for Rourke. He had told her he wanted to get there early, though hadn't given her a definitive reason as to why. Either way, when he arrived and rang the bell, she stepped onto the porch to greet him. "Wow, what did you do to your hair?" "No more than you did to yours," he said as he flicked the barrette she'd pinned in it. "Oh, stop, it looks nice." Once they reached the school, Rourke led Liz into the gym. Done up with streamers and party banners, the bleachers had been pushed back to make room for the lights. However, instead of a disc jockey, several students had opted to put together a live band. Drawn out to the right, in between the girls' and boys' locker room, were many tables filled with snacks. A gigantic punch fountain was the first thing to catch Rourke's eye as it spewed a pinkish substance into an enormous bowl beside a surplus of tiny plastic cups. "Why don't you go take a seat?" he said to Liz. "Where are you going?" she asked, although did just that as he made his way to the punch. Staring around the room, she turned to watch the band members setting up. Ironically, the lead guitarist happened to be Roger. Opening his guitar case, he stopped when he noticed her. Unaware she actually had a date, let alone as to whom it was. A smile crossed his face, and he went to adjust the collar of his stark white suit. "Hey there, beautiful," the bully snickered. Liz rolled her eyes, and her peaceful expression soured. "Oh, God, Roger, what do you want?" "Where's your date? Don't tell me you're here by yourself." "Oh, please. The only one who's here by himself is you." "Hey, I'm with the band. The ladies love me. You should really show some respect." He went to take a step toward her, only to stop as Rourke cleared his throat. "Hey, buddy, you got something you want to say?" The look on Roger's face quickly went from amusement to uncertainty. "Why don't you get lost, behemoth boy, or do I have to get the soda?" That was all it took. With a slight nod, Roger hurried across the room, and Liz gave Rourke a smile. "He's never going to live that down," she laughed. "Nope." He did, too. Pulling a seat beside her, he leaned back, and his gaze once again fell on the punch. "Hey, Liz, you mind going to get me one of those flyer things from across the way?" As she did, he crossed his arms and placed several fingers along the left side of his temple. "Gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way." Giving off the faintest flicker of gold, his gaze stiffened and an odd black steam wafted up from the bowl before vanishing again without a trace. On her way back, Liz handed him the slip of paper with the set list and quickly sat down. "Man, what a bunch of crap. I'm gonna have to liven this place up a bit." "Oh, nothing. Just thinking out loud. This party is pretty dull. What do you say we kill some time?" Rourke removed a deck of cards from his pocket and slapped it across the table. "Sure, but if we're going to play cards, shouldn't we have something to bet on?" "Like what?" "Well, that's the thing. I didn't really bring anything." "That's okay. You could always bet your soul." They both laughed, and the two of them spent the next hour playing poker. By the time they were finished, there must have been at least 100, if not 200 people crammed into the gym. "Well, what do you know?" Liz set down her hand, and Rourke's jaw dropped. "Looks like I get to keep my soul after all." Rolling his eyes, he leaned back and crossed his arms. "The night's still young. You never know what might happen. Say, let me get you a drink." "Sure, just not any of that punch. I don't like the stuff." "You know," he snapped his fingers as an idea came to him, "I've got just the thing." Making his way to the table, Rourke picked up an empty plastic cup and reached for a bottle of water. Pouring out just enough to fill it halfway, he brought it to his lips and blew gently across its surface while his eyes gleamed gold. "That should do the trick," he said as he turned to bring Liz the drink. "Here you go. Careful, it's strong." "What is it?" she asked, clutching it delicately in her hands. "Something special. Don't worry, you'll like it." Liz downed the entire confection while a wide and somewhat wicked grin spread Rourke's face. "So, what you think?" he asked once she put down the glass. "Oh, my God." Bringing a hand to her forehead, she wavered and began to laugh. "Please tell me you didn't drug that." "Nah, come on, Liz. I wouldn't dream of it." "What did you put in that stuff, Rourke?" She pressed him, expression shifting from amusement to shock as he was about to say something when his stomach beat him to it. Considering the velocity of the music, not many people heard, which was probably a good thing. However, those who did quickly turned to stare, and that's when Liz took it upon herself to make it worse. "It's okay, everybody. It's just Rourke," she teased, ignoring the profound and somewhat compulsory look he was giving her. "Poor guy has a monster in his belly. Isn't that right?" She went to rub it, and both of his hands instantly rushed to his face. "Liz, shut up! You're embarrassing!" he hissed, though it was really more of a moan. "Good. You could use a little color." Leah watched them in disgust. "Ugh, gag me with a spoon." Could they get any creepier? "Where's Sam?" Unfortunately, poor Sam was still pacing the floor of his room while he waited for his package to arrive. Cursing vehemently, he was furious with the Postal Service as well as himself for not dropping the extra $30 to have it express mailed. By now, the gym was packed and things were really beginning to pick up. The band had ended its set list, and one of the teachers stepped forth to announce the annual Greenville dance competition. Quickly getting up, Rourke took Liz by the arm. "Okay, now it's my turn to embarrass you," he said as he dragged her out of her seat. What? Wait, Rorik, no, come on, I don't dance.
Don't worry, I'll take care of that.
Dragging her onto the floor, which was still packed with students, Liz looked terribly reluctant, though Rorik wasn't about to let her slip away. His grip was like iron as he pulled her toward a group of participants and the teacher, who was already announcing her name. "Elizabeth Steinway, looks like you're up," he said, and went to hand her the microphone. "What? But how? No, Rorik, please, I can't sing. I didn't even sign up for this."
Don't worry about it, Liz. I got this under control. Just go with it. It'll be fun.
The lights suddenly began to dim as a familiar beat took the air alongside the somewhat unnatural sensation of an energy not quite of this world.
Trust me.
Rorik let go of her and started back toward the table. All the while, several spotlights panned toward the dance floor, causing the crowd to grow thin. The left-hand side of the room was cast a deep purple, while the right began to shift pink. "All right, everybody," the teacher announced. "Let's give it up for Elizabeth." "What's wrong with me?" Reaching a hand to the side of her face, she suddenly looked quite ill. Still staring at her, Rorik crossed one leg over the other and began to sway to the rhythm that had taken the floor. "Why do I feel like this?" Liz closed her eyes and the lights around her intensified. Opening them again, she stepped forward along with several members of Leah's soccer team, who began to bring in a familiar chorus as she lifted the microphone to her lips and broke straight into a cover of Rihanna's Disturbia. Rorik's gaze never left her while the rest of the team joined in and people around the room began to cheer. Very steadily the compulsion spread, curiously seducing anyone who would happen to have taken even the slightest sip of the punch. When the dance came to an end, the pink and purple filters, not that the lights actually had any, faded, and the floor was cast into a momentary bout of darkness. Liz stood at its center, eyes closed, head bowed, while a symphony of cheers and wolf whistles erupted from the sidelines. When the lights began to grow again, her expression faltered as if she had no recollection of what had just transpired, or perhaps simply no explanation for it. Before she had much time to think, however, another beat took the air, this one far darker. Picking up his guitar, Roger began to rattle off a frightening electric solo, while the lights filtered the deepest hue of crimson imaginable and the crowd parted to reveal Rorik. His eyes were gleaming unnaturally in the strange glow that turned the white stripes of his suit a deep red. As Roger began to play, he threw out his arms and broke into a cover of You Spin Me Right Round by Dope. Now the compulsion had become worse, ensnaring several others who had previously managed to evade it, while Rorik pulled Liz into a frightening dance routine and the lights started to spin. Across the room, the gym doors suddenly flew open and Sam burst in. Panting heavily, he was clutching his chest with one hand and a large backpack with the other. "Did you honestly run here?" a voice asked as Matt, who had arrived a few minutes prior, walked over and shook his head. "Never mind that," Sam muttered. "Where are they?" "See for yourself." He pointed across the floor while Sam staggered to a vacant table. "Holy shit, man. Give me a second. I gotta breathe." "I'll get you something." Returning a few minutes later, Matt handed Sam a cup of punch, though he only shook his head and put it down. Toying with his bag, he shuffled it into his lap as the music stopped and the lights returned to normal. Liz was still standing in the middle of the room, and Rorik met her eyes with a grin. "You are magic." She gave a slightly nervous laugh before a haunting melody began to take the air.
A bit more than that, actually.
Throwing a glance across his shoulder, his eyes fell on the girl who had helped Liz sing backup for Disturbia. Tossing her the microphone, she caught it in midair and whipped her hair back as the lights faded to a rich violet and forest green. Liz's eyes glazed, and she was once again taken by the music while the girl and her friends belted a surprisingly well-sung version of Lady Gaga's Monster. Back at the table, Matt watched Sam pull his prize from the bag. "Is that a Viewmaster?" His expression dropped as Sam brought the bright blue child's toy to his eyes and peered through it in Rorik's direction. "Yup." It took Matt a moment to find words. "Let me get this straight. That is your secret weapon? The object you spent 3 months' summer salary on?" "Yup." "Sam! He's got her totally Beetlejuice, dude. This is unbelievable. All of them." "Excuse me, what?" Lowering his gaze from the toy, Sam looked back. "Come on, man. You know, Beetlejuice, the Banana Boat song?" Matt arched a brow. "Dude, do you live in a box? Here, check this out." Handing him the Viewmaster, Sam pointed at Rorik. "Proof that even you can't deny." "Sam, this is just a toy. I'm not gonna—" "Just do it." Having no desire to argue, Matt relented and brought the toy to his eyes. Flicking the tiny yellow button on the side, he stared across the dance floor, and his expression flattened as all that came into view was a rather poorly drawn scribble of a ball with teeth. "You've got to be kidding. Is this supposed to be a joke?" "What?" Grabbing the Viewmaster, Sam peered through it. "Oh, stupid. Now look!" he snapped, pulling out the slide and tossing it away. With a deep sigh, Matt put it back to his face and began to peer through the strangely tinted lens. "I don't see anything, Sam. He's got his hair styled the same way. Wait till he stops moving and you'll see it." Matt was about to put down the toy when Rorik actually did stop, and he realized what Sam was talking about. Although the color through the lens was distorted, the boy who was dancing with Liz most definitely was not Rorik Ivory. Taller and roughly several years older, not to mention almost 50 pounds lighter, he had much sharper features and somewhat of a strange aura to him. Matt lowered the Viewmaster before raising it again in a double take. Holy shit! That's not Rorik! No! Really? Sam practically screamed. Staring with his mouth agape, Matt could hardly believe it while Sam re-emerged from his bag with the slingshot. You know, for a demon, he's not a bad dancer. The rubber band suddenly met the side of Matt's ear. Ow, Sam, what was that for? Get with it, he hissed. Okay, I'll admit it's weird, but they're just dancing. This time it was Sam's turn for a facepalm. Listen to the lyrics, man. I hate Lady Gaga. That's besides the point, just listen to them. He's gonna kill her. Here, in front of all these people? He wouldn't. Staring across the floor, the two of them watched as Rorik stopped, holding Liz in his arms. A frightening grin had spread his face, eyes giving off a strange tint while his lips began to peel away. Oh, he would! Sam placed the ball bearing in the band and shoved his way through the crowd. Petering out, the song came to an end and Rorik's teeth began to grow sharp as he went to open his jaws. Leaning over Liz, he was just about to attack her when Sam finally managed a clear shot and a second later sent the ball bearing straight toward Rorik's skull. Thankfully, at least for him, he managed to gather himself in time to gently push Liz aside and catch it between his thumb and forefinger. Watching with wide eyes, Sam was startled he'd actually done so. What's wrong? Rorik hissed. You want to join the party? Not a chance, freak. I came to... Sam blinked a couple times and the air around him stiffened.
You were saying?
I came to... Again, he found he couldn't quite finish his sentence, perhaps having something to do with the fact that he'd downed the glass of punch, which now sat empty on the table beside Matt.
You came to what?
Closing his eyes, Sam grit his teeth, and when he looked up again, the lights in the room started to spin in strobing flashes of green and gold. Stepping forward, he threw up his hands and belted into a wild cover of Dynamite by Your Highway Home.
Well, Liz,
Rorik said with a bit of a sigh.
I think I'm gonna blow this joint before he does. I'll catch you later.
Sure thing, Rorik. She was only half paying attention. The effects of his energy were still coursing through her, and as he started toward the door, she bounded off to join the rest of the party. Staring blankly at the scene, Leah thought her teammates had gone mad and that the world was suddenly spinning backward on an angle. Ren was posted against the opposite wall, unsure of what to do with all the chaos. Having slipped out the back, Rorik was actually a little unsettled himself. Leaving the party to get some air, he leaned against the side of the gym and breathed a heavy sigh while the commotion could still be heard from inside. Spike the punch bowl, Rorik? Rain asked with ice in her tone. Do you really think those idiots need any more excitement? Spinning around, his awkward expression melted down to a narrowed gaze. What's wrong? You didn't get any? No, thankfully. So what happened? I saw you going for Liz. Why'd you stop? Too scared? The smirk vanished and he glared at her flatly. Mind your own business. How can I when her lipstick is all over your face? Huh? He rubbed the side of his cheek and grimaced as it smudged off on his hand. You're so pathetic. A little girl is making an ass out of you and the big bad soul eater can't even make his move. What's wrong, Rorik? Thinking of becoming a good demon? Whatever. He was truly too preoccupied with his own thoughts to engage. What's the matter? You didn't see this coming? See what coming? He grumbled. Please, you go over her house, meet her parents, defend her from bullies? You're a regular wannabe boyfriend. Well, maybe I decided I wanted to keep her around a little longer. I could use a new minion anyway. The old one's getting kind of cheeky. He rubbed his face. You're teasing me for enjoying Liz's company, yet here you are playing defender of all things human. Can you say hypocrite with a capital H? Who says I'm defending them? You're just bad for business, and on top of that, your appetite offends me. I'm not fraternizing with humans, unlike you. So Matt and Sam aren't human? Please, Dumb and Dumber are allies. You're the one who has a master and a ponytail. Your manhood is in shambles. I think maybe you're just jealous that somebody actually gives a shit I exist. Or wasn't that you outside Liz's house the other day spying on me from that oak tree with a look of absolute hatred? Does it bother you that someone like me could actually have more of a relationship with the opposite sex than you'll ever have in a million years? Relationships are for pansies. What you're doing is defined as bestiality. Bestiality, he laughed. That's rich. You know, it's really amusing to watch you fumble over your words as if you actually know what you're saying. That's the pot calling the kettle black, considering you're a total idiot. Liz will run away from you when she finds out what you really are. Pfft, and who the hell says she's gonna find out? Oh, but she will, Rain smiled. Brushing her aside, Rorik stuffed his hands in his pockets and continued down the block while the music began to fade. The farther he got from the school, the less of an effect his magic had on the students, who eventually began to come out of it one by one. Walking in through the front door of his house, he latched it shut and hurried up to give Rose, who had returned to a creature-like state and was now staring at him from the top of a clothing pile, a wide grin. That was a hell of a show, Rose. Too bad you had to miss it. Her eyes narrowed. Oh, come on. Once Halloween rolls around, you'll be able to join in, I promise. Eep. What? Well, maybe I decided I want to stick around a little longer. Eep.
How much longer? I don't know, a while. What are you looking at me like that for?
She crossed her arms.
Did I what? Well,
Rourke scratched his face rather nervously.
Maybe I kind of decided I didn't want to eat her. Eat? What? I'm entitled to change my mind. Yeesh.
Still glowering, the creature suddenly noticed the smudged lipstick and his jaw dropped.
Eat! Whoa, Rose, calm the fuck down.
Reaching up again, he quickly rubbed it away.
Oops, thought I got all of that off. You're gonna have to slow down. I can't translate that fast.
She shook a finger at him in silence.
Would you chill out? I just had this conversation with Goth Chick. Nobody is gonna find out, least of all Liz. I didn't get this far without an understanding of how to blend in. Hey, maybe she'll be my minion.
There came another sharp squeak.
Well, you'll always be my minion, Rose, but let's face it, it would be nice to have a two-way conversation for once.
A few seconds later, a shoe went flying toward his head, and Rose left him be.